Come take my hand and see the world around you. The time is right, just let the light surround you. And step by step you feel it coming alive, the feeling deep down inside.
The best memories are made when you take the road less traveled. Visit wanderingbutnotlost.com for some inspiration.
Okay, today on Wanderings End, we are going back to Yosemite National Park here in California. I haven't been in a year and a half. Jan O'Brien, my sweet pea, and I went for, it was, Jim, was that your first time? I'm trying to remember. Was that the first time you went to Yosemite?
First timer.
That's funny because I had forgotten that's what that was.
Yeah, you guys, that was my inaugural trip, and I
Right.
haven't been since, and you guys nearly killed me, if I remember correctly, on some of these hikes, but oh my gosh, it was amazing. It was everything I hoped it to be.
It was a lot of fun, and a lot has changed at Yosemite since we've been there, or not a lot, but a lot to avid Yosemite fans. The Yosemite National Park got all their trademark names back from the Delaware North Company. That was exciting. So the Ahwahnee Hotel is now no longer the Yosemite Majestic, whatever it was called, Yosemite Hotel, and Camp Curry is back. It's not Half Dome Village. So that's a very exciting thing that has happened over the last year or so. And I am just making putting it out there that we are going to make a trip to Yosemite this year because I miss it. We used to go, there was a stretch there. We used to go like every 2-3 months, but it's been over a year and a half, and that is too darn long. So really, Yosemite is hands down my favorite place to wander. Absolutely, no question about it. It's my Mecca, it's my Xanadu, it's my place to be, right? The fresh air, the meadows, the trees, the water, the waterfalls, the cathedral-like granite cliffs that rise up around you are all things that just put me in my happy place. And I really dare anyone to go to Yosemite and not be touched by the grandeur and beauty of that place. Wouldn't you agree with that, Jan O'Brien?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's stunning. Even if you've seen pictures of it, which everybody has, it's iconic, a lot of the stuff. It blows me away every time I go, and I've been countless times there. So just a little background, if you're not really familiar with Yosemite, it's located, kind of mid-state in California in the Sierra Nevada mountains outside of Fresno off of Route 99. Is the easiest way into the park, or the most traveled way into the park. Easy to get to from San Francisco via drive. It's easy, a couple hour drive from LA area. It's more like a 4.5-5 hour drive by the time you get all the way in there, but easy to get to. Make it a part of one of your next visits to the Golden State, or if you live here locally, just put it on your agenda to get there. If you haven't been there a while, or if you've never been, we're going to give you 5 tips that will make your first trip to Yosemite one that will compel you to go back again, but will also give you all the things you need to make it feel like you've actually seen the place, because it's big, right? So little background on Yosemite first. It was established in 1890 as the nation's second recognized park, although the protection for Yosemite, or that land there, went way back into 1864 when Abraham Lincoln was actually the president of the United States. So I give Lincoln one more thumbs up for protecting the land in the Sierra Nevada around Yosemite. That guy just had it going on. He knew what was happening. There's over 750,000 acres total in the national park itself. However, when most people think of Yosemite, think of the iconic Yosemite Valley, which is just really 7 square miles of that 750,000 acres that are protected. So that's what people think of when you're driving through the tunnel there out of the mountains and you see Half Dome and El Capitan and the valley below. That's really what people think about Yosemite, but there's so much more to explore there. What we're going to focus on today, though, the 5 tips are really just going to be in the valley itself, because that's where most people go. It's the easiest to get to, and there is so many wonderful things to see. Now, over 4 million people a year visit Yosemite. That's about 1 million more that go to Ellis Island, because we talked about that last week. So that means there's a heck of a lot of people that are visiting Yosemite. Now, clearly, most of them are going to be traveling to Yosemite in the summertime. That is when it is the absolute busiest in the park. If you're going in the summertime, make sure you are prepared for crowds and traffic jams. And that's just the unfortunate case nowadays. So just know you're getting into that in the summer, and just be be mindful that that's going to happen and just enjoy the journey, right? Park the car, get out and walk. That's all I can say. They have a couple parking lots there. They have a great shuttle system. If everyone would learn just to get out of their car and take other means of transportation, the whole place would be an easier place to navigate.
Right.
So that's a tip right there to do it. Now, when you and Laura and I went, we stayed at the Iwani, so we walked mostly around. I mean, we took the shuttle a couple places, didn't we, Jan? I think we did.
But you had us in the best possible place to stay, right?
Right.
In the center of everything.
Exactly. So just be mindful that you're going to hit a little traffic, but Yosemite is gorgeous in the summer. It's gorgeous all times of the year. If you can get there during more of the off seasons, you are going to find less crowds, and you're going to find beauty that is just not the same in the summertime, because it's always beautiful there. But the spring, when the trees are starting to come back to life and the snow is melting and the meadows are turning green and the flowers are starting to bloom, really that's more towards early summer, but it's beautiful. And the fall, which is my personal favorite time to go, because I love the autumnal experience, is gorgeous. And winter, if you can be up there during this, anytime that it's snow on the ground, oh my God, talk about a winter wonderland. It is absolutely amazing.
You've taken some amazing photos in the winter, but not everything's accessible, right, in the wintertime?
Right. You know, a lot of the hikes that you do from the valley take you out of the valley. You go up on trails up into the up into the cliffs, or up to the top really of some of these cliffs here, and all of those are closed in the wintertime because they're just too slippery and icy to get to. But that's okay, and here's why. And this is tip number one. If you want to really see Yosemite Valley, or Yosemite Valley itself, we suggest that you take the valley floor loop. There is an 11.5 mile trail that loops around the valley of Yosemite. Yeah. And we went on part of that, Jan, when we were there, from the Iwani Hotel over to Mirror Lake and around Mirror Lake and then back.
Where I lost these glasses.
Where you lost your glasses, and Laura was the eagle eye. We're like, oh, let's go back. We'll find him. I mean, my God, that's
where you tricked me into. We didn't take the whole loop because we had to go back and find my glasses and double back.
Yeah, right. Because the loop is a long loop. If you are if you're in shape and you're a good hiker and you want to get out and do it, that 11.5 miles, which Laura and I have done all in one day, is a amazing trip because you see so much while you're on that. Here are just some of the things, and some of these might not sound familiar to you, but these are the kind of the landmark iconic things to see in Yosemite. So on this hike, you'll be exposed to all of the major park sites, right? Yosemite Falls, which is like the iconic waterfall, all of the beautiful meadows in the park, the Merced River that meanders through, and you see it in all of its different forms, whether when it's running smoothly and wide, and when it gets narrow and a little bit more rapidy, all of that on the Merced. El Capitan, the rock climbers monolith, Bridalveil Falls, which is one of the first waterfalls you see as you come in, the Three Brothers, which are three beautiful iconic rock formations in the park. Cathedral Rock, Half Dome, clearly, which is kind of like the logo of the park. You can see that on the hike in all of its different from all different angles. Yeah, it's amazing. Mirror Lake, which we just talked about a minute ago. You're going to be able to experience Yosemite Lodge, Camp Curry, the Iwani Hotel, Yosemite Village, the Visitor Center and Museum, and countless other things along the way. So this hike really gives you the perspective, first of all, the lay of the land of where everything is in the valley, but you get to really see all of the major icons, or all the things that you want to see in Yosemite on this hike. Now, you don't have to do all of it at the same time. The great thing about this hike is you can jump on or off of it from almost any of these locations I just mentioned. So we typically stay at the Iwani Hotel. It's a 2-mile hike over to Mirror Lake from there. That's fantastic. You do that maybe one morning, walk around Mirror Lake, come back to the hotel like we did, Jan. That could be one hike a day. The next day you might head the other, you head south down the trail and head over to Yosemite Falls and then out into the meadows. And if you are, feeling more adventurous and want to do more, then you hike across over to the other side of the valley to go to Bridalveil Falls and then back up. So it's just a great way to see the valley. And for the most part, it is an easy hike. It's usually very flat. Of course, where we went, there's two parts that are a little bit have some elevation gain, and that is going over kind of to Yosemite Falls and over to Mirror Lake, because you get to huff and puff a little bit on that part of the hike. But for the most part, the rest of it is just on the valley floor, and you just hike through. So number one on the list is the valley floor loop. I cannot recommend that enough. Laura and I have been to Yosemite, I just countless times, dozens and dozens of times, and every time we go on part of that or all of that. We make that one part of our day. Second thing you have to do is go see Yosemite Falls. That seems like a no-brainer because everyone will drive by there and stop and take a look at it. There's a parking lot not too far from there. Actually, it's at the Yosemite Village. Park your car there, take the shuttle or walk, but take the shuttle over to Yosemite Falls. That's probably the best bet. It's shuttle stop number 6. When you get off the shuttle, everyone's going to go to the left when they get off the shuttle because that's the easiest and fastest way up to the falls. Now, I always say take the road less traveled, right? So go to the right. There's another trail that will take you up to Yosemite Falls. It is a less traveled trail. It is most of the time on a little boardwalk that goes above the water that is coming down from the falls. You go through the trees there and it loops back around to the same place everybody else is, but you're not going to be with the crowds. Even in the summertime, this trail to the right is not nearly as busy. But here's the real pro tip. As you're walking up that trail, there's a little bridge that goes over the creek there, kind of towards the middle kind of the area where and it doesn't look like it really goes anywhere. Don't miss this trail. Go off on that trail, hike. It's really short. It might rise like a couple hundred feet. You get over there and there is this beautiful little open space that you can see beautifully straight up to the waterfall. You might be there with one or two other people, no matter what time of year it is. Absolutely fantastic. And you get to see the waterfall unlike the way most people see it. Way back in 1869, I think it was, John Muir actually had a cabin there. Of course he did, because it's the greatest place in the world. I mean, it had the most beautiful view. So he had a little cabin there and he would stay there. There's a quote by John Muir that I really love, and it really kind of goes into this space and the feeling really about when you're walking around there. And it is, nature's peace will flow into you as sunshine flows into the trees. And it is the truth. That place, it refreshes and rejuvenates you every time. So when you're going to Yosemite Falls, because I know you're going to do that anyway, hang to the right, not the left. It's going to be a much better experience for you. Number 3 on the list is just visiting Yosemite Village itself. It's kind of the little heart of the park. There is a general store there and a gift shop. There's a lot of little restaurants. Deegan's Pizza House is there. Just a lot of little places to eat. They have a visitor center there that I would absolutely say you go to. If you're into postmarks, they have a post office right there. So if you want to mail yourself a letter to get a Yosemite National Park postmark or a postcard or something, stop in the postcard. The Ansel Adams Gallery there is an incredible thing to see. Beautiful artwork, beautiful shots by Ansel Adams, and a lot of just really interesting jewelry and pottery and stuff like that are in there. Check out Ansel Adams Gallery. When you are in the visitor center, talk to a ranger and see what's going on in the park, because they will always give you some great ideas. And if you don't feel like you want to go up and talk, just kind of hang back and listen to them talking to other people for a little bit. You might get some new ideas or different ideas of things to do. If you walk out the backside of the visitor center, though, there's 2 things back there. There's a movie theater that shows a rotating movie about the park, and it changes, yearly or quarterly or whenever they change it. That I would suggest doing that, especially if you're a first timer. Gives you another little overview. There's also a little recreation of the Indian village that really is cool to walk through. It's hidden back there. You really have to know it's back there, and it shows you what life was like in the valley before all of the white man took over, right? The Anawachi, I think it's Anawachi is how you pronounce that, Indians used to live there, and it shows how they handled and lived and dealt with the nature of that area. There's also a little museum there that has a lot of Indian artifacts, both really interesting. And then the last thing there, if you walk a little bit farther down in Yosemite Village, there's a graveyard in there that has incredible there probably aren't a lot of people that you would recognize in there. And, I'm not saying that graveyards are woohoo, let's go to the graveyard. But it's always neat to walk into history like that, where you see graves from the 1800s and early 1900s and just know what hardships these people must have gone through here in the valley. So check out Yosemite Village, more than just going into the store to buy a t-shirt. There's more things to see there.
Don't forget to get your National Park, passport stamped.
That's right, Jan O'Brien. If you are a passport stamper, right there in the
Yes,
visitor center, there is the
that's
stamp there.
that's always cool.
Absolutely. Number 4 on the list is Mirror Lake. We talked about it a little bit. It's hard to say what is the most photographed area of the park, whether it's Half Dome or Yosemite Falls, but I have to tell you that Mirror Lake is definitely on the list. And this is a wonderful little area where the water will collect down into but doesn't flow swiftly. So most of the time, it is just like a piece of glass or a mirror, and the reflections you can get off of this
Amazing.
lake are amazing. You onto the one side, you look up the cliff and you see Half Dome. Doesn't look like Half Dome from this side because you're seeing the sheer granite face of Half Dome. The other way over is Mount Watkins. It is any time of year absolutely amazing to take, and it's a shutterbug's dream location. I've got some pictures in the show notes on that. In the summertime, a lot of time that Mirror Lake completely will dry up, and it is mere meadow for a while there. So not always, and we've had some pretty good rainy years the last couple of years. But a lot of times, especially during drought conditions, there was no lake there in the summertime. So you might miss that. But even if there's not a lake there, it's worth going back to it. There's a nice hike around that lake. A lot more information on that and everything I'm talking about over in the show notes of WBNLpodcast.com and wanderingbutnotlost.com. Number 5 on the list, and this might seem a little obscure to you, but I guarantee you will not regret it, is go have breakfast at the Ahwahnee Hotel. If you don't know about the Ahwahnee, I have information about its history in the show notes. The dining room at the Ahwahnee is spectacular. It really is. Talk about walking into something that feels like a cathedral. This really does. The columns are trees. It's very wooden. It's the lighting is beautiful. The windows are enormous, and you get these views out into the valley. You get views over to Yosemite Falls at the far end of the dining room, and it's just a fantastic, almost spiritual place anyway, for me anyway, to dine. They have breakfast, lunch, and dinner there. All the dinners are absolutely amazing. Lunch is a great time to go, but I like breakfast because the way the sun comes into the room there in the morning, plus they have an awesome buffet every day of the week, and then on Sunday they have just this spectacular buffet, omelet bar and carving station, typical stuff you'd find in buffets, but not typical things you'd think you'd find in a national park setting in a lodge, right?
It was a highlight for sure, eating in there, but that whole lobby is so majestic and gorgeous. But listen, I know you're probably going to talk about it, but I'm sure one of your tips in here is how quickly that sells out. How far ahead do people have to book the Ahwahnee?
Yeah, if you're going to stay at the Ahwahnee, it depends on what time of year you're going for. Like summertime books up a good year in advance. As a matter of fact, they don't even open up reservations. A year in advance is the cutoff. So if you're looking for a specific day, you get on your calendar a year ahead of time to make sure you can get in there, because there's not, it's a decent sized hotel, but it's not unlimited room source. And the Ahwahnee is a little bit on the more expensive side. The lodge is very nice too, and they've just remodeled. Actually, when Aramark took over the national park concession as a national park concessionaire, they did a lot of remodeling at the Ahwahnee and at the Yosemite Lodge. So new refreshed rooms everywhere. So you have to really plan that. Now, the dinner reservations are a whole entirely different thing. You have a better chance of doing that even just a couple days ahead of time to be able to get into the dining room. So you can go eat at the Ahwahnee dining room, even if you're not staying at the Ahwahnee. Yeah. So just know that as a tip. And that's why I put this on the list. If you're not staying there, or if you're even in Yosemite for the day, right now, you might not be able to get down there in time for breakfast, but go for lunch. I think lunch is a magical time to be there as well. It's just a fun experience. It takes your national park visit to a different level, and it gives you a chance to experience the Ahwahnee Hotel, which I can't really speak enough about.
You have to go there. You can't go all the way to Yosemite and not stop in there and just I felt like we were back in time.
That's right. It does make you feel like that. Absolutely. Very good point, Jan O'Brien. So there's the 5 tips of things that you really shouldn't miss if you're a first-time visitor to the park. And I guarantee you, it'll make you want to go back again and again, because you're going to see everything that you need to see. And then you can start planning, hey, next time I want to hike to Half Dome. And which Laura and I did back in 2009, was it? I think.
Or maybe you're going to do the cable crawl up to the top.
Right, exactly. And which is incredible, So there's a lot of things to do there, but this will give you a good lay of the land. And then if you've been to Yosemite 1,000 times, like Laura and I have been a lot of times, we still almost do all of these things on this list every single
Sure.
time we go. So it'll be like plan a longer hike, but these are the things that are just the staples that just make you feel like you are back where you need
I
to
wanna
be.
go.
So I know I'm all excited about it too. So go to the show notes, like I said, over at wbnlpodcast.com, wanderingbutnotlost.com. You'll get a lot more information about what I talked today, plus links to make reservations and all sorts of other things. Just get out there, get up, get out, find your park, people, and be forever wandering but not lost.
Boom.